In this video we visit Pembrokeshire's Hanging Stone, another brilliant example of a Neolithic dolmen in a county known as a hotspot for these monuments. But first, welcome back to our channel, Coral Jacks, where we visit ancient sites and delve into the history and folklore behind them. A lot of these sites are fairly unknown, and we'd love more people to be aware of these awe-inspiring remnants of history, as well as keep some of our precious and dwindling folklore alive. Please subscribe to our channel to help support us in this goal.
Oh my god!
Just 5 miles south of Haverfordwest and 5 miles north of Pembroke Dock, the Hanging Stone lies much closer to the Bristol Channel than any other existing site in Pembrokeshire. Taking up the Southern Watch with an impressive view over the Milford Haven waterway and a historically well-used trackway running adjacent to the site, it's clear that this was an important strategic location up until modern forms of transport took over. Dolmens like this one date back around 5,000 years, although many are thought to be much older. Usually single-chambered with a large capstone on top, they're found all over the world, but the word dolmen itself has become quite misunderstood. Because a number of dolmens in the UK were found within a tumulus, or a burial mound, there's a tendency to refer to them all as tombs, or at least the entranceway into tombs. The implication being that the mound of rocks, earth, and any relics present had been stripped away from the sites at some point in unrecorded history. However, architecturally they differ greatly from other early Neolithic funerary monuments, and there is little physical evidence to suggest that they were used as such. Despite this, most of the dolmens we have visited still bear the name burial chamber and often depict a mound that may never have been. Radiocarbon dating has shown that the oldest megalithic tombs originated in Central to Northern Europe, with finds at the Breton dolmens dating back nearly 7,000 years. They then spread further south to central and southern France, southwest to Spain and Portugal, and northeast to the central lowlands of Europe. The popular use of this architecture concludes in Malta in Italy around 2,000 years later. Human remains and artefacts have been found in or close to the dolmens, which could be scientifically dated. However, it's impossible to prove that the remains date from the time when the stones were originally moved into position. The use of dolmens on the Korean peninsula, however, includes very unique arrangements of multiple dolmens forming cemeteries consisting of 30 to 100 structures, located in close proximity to each other. Estimated to have over 35,000 existing structures, Korea can boast 40% of the world's surviving dolmens. Unfortunately, there's little to no reference of this monument in any of the old texts that we've been using for other sites in Pembrokeshire. This could be due to its location being a bit of an outlier from the rest, or its name given that it's an uncommon one and slightly misleading for a Welsh cromlech. But a post on the Modern Antiquarian references a text from 1872, written by E.L. Barnwell and called Notes on some South Wales cromlechs. It says, "This cromlech in the parish of Burton was inspected by the Society in 1864, at which time it was built round with loose stones and used as a small sheepcot. It has since been cleaned out and is now seen to much better advantage than when visited by the Society. At that time there were some small remains of the original packing of small stones in the interstices between the slabs, a very unusual occurrence. What was left was but a very small portion, but quite sufficient to give an idea of the firm manner in which this dry rubble work was worked in. It is known as the Hanging Stone, an unusual name in Wales for such remains, if this part of Pembrokeshire can be called Welsh." The last part of the quote refers to the area being dubbed Little England due to its popularity and therefore populace of English tourists and residents. But the quote offers some explanation to the site's anonymity. Used as an animal shelter and still partially built into a boundary wall, the monument has remained fairly hidden. Perhaps this is why the 3 distinct hollows on the face, that look much like intentionally carved cup marks, have not garnered it any attention. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any academic reference to these marks being recorded or studied, but cup marks have been found on other UK sites, and are fairly frequent features on capstones in other parts of the world. Theories surrounding the design of these cup marks suggest that they may have represented the position of constellations in the sky, or even been an early form of writing, but these finds of markings on the top faces of capstones have certainly bolstered the argument that these structures were not built to be covered over with mud. A recent book, published in 2021, called Monuments in the Making, takes a good look at the range of architecture bundled under the title of dolmen, and suggests alternative explanations for why these structures were originally built. Particularly interesting is the idea that the technologies for building these structures may have been shared in such a way as to be a tool to induce positive social transformation. Beyond simply bringing the immediate community together for the act of erecting the stones, the wider community too would have been inspired by these feats. Filled with awe and fascination, they would desire their own monuments, spreading through the communities and culture of the time. The following is a description of the book from their publisher, Oxbow Books. In this book, we offer an exciting new perspective on a distinctive form of megalithic monument that is found across most areas of Northern Europe. In order to achieve this, we have abandoned outmoded and typological classifications and reintroduced the term dolmen to embrace a range of sites that share a common form of megalithic architecture: the elevation and display of a substantial stone. By critically assessing the traditionally assigned role of these monuments and their architecture as megalithic tombs, the presence of the dead is reassessed and argued to form part of a process generating vibrancy to the materiality of the dolmen. As such, this book argues that the megalithic architecture identified as a dolmen is not a chambered tomb at all, but instead a qualitatively different form of monument. We also provide an entirely different conception of the utility of this extraordinary megalithic architecture, one that seeks to emphasise its building as an articulating discourse of wonder as a broad social strategy. In this respect, it is important to remember that many of these monuments were erected very early in the Neolithic, and as a consequence of new people entering new lands or social transformation. In short, dolmens are monumental constructions employing experimental and emergent technologies to raise huge stones, which, once built, enchant those who come within their spaces. Our claim is that dolmens were megalithic installations of effect, magical and extraordinary in construction, and strategically positioned to induce both drama and awe in their encounter. My personal interpretation of these sites aligns closely with what the authors express in this book, and we'll be making a long-form video delving into this topic soon. But we still have a handful of sites left to visit in Pembrokeshire before we start editing, so please do subscribe to get notified. And finally, we leave you with a poem that I find quite fitting. Cofio, Remembrance, written in Welsh by Waldo Williams and translated by Alan Lloyd. One fleeting moment as the sun is setting, one gentle moment as the night falls fast, to bring to mind the things that are forgotten, now scattered in the dust of ages past. Like white foamed waves that break on lonely beaches, like the wind's song where no one hears the wind. They beckon us, I know, but to no purpose, the old forgotten things of humankind. The artistry and skills of early peoples, small dwelling places and enormous halls, old well-told tales that have been lost for ages, the gods that now no mortal could recall, and little words of languages long vanished, lithe words once lively on the lips of men, and pretty in the prattle of small children, no tongue will ever utter them again. O earth's innumerable generations, their sacred dreams and fragile sanctity, is the heart silent that once was acquainted, with sadness and with gladness and with glee? Often at close of day, when I am lonely, I long to know you all, bring all to mind. Is there a heart or memory still to cherish, the old forgotten things of humankind?